What is up, boxing besties? Welcome back to Xicana Boxing on YouTube. And if the first time, hi, my name's Lily. I am an independent boxing journalist who sometimes gets on here and yaps about whatever's going on in the boxing world, but now it's going to be more often, at least once a month, because now we're officially launching Rucas Boxing Rant with my friend Bridget here. And if you guys follow me on social media, then you know or are familiar with Bridget because she was with me with Canelo versus Crawford fight week. So, even though you may be a little familiar with her, I may be already following her because if you are, good for you, you understood the assignment. But I want to let her introduce herself so that, you guys can get to know her and, welcome her to the Xicana Boxing team.
Hey everybody, Loca por Los Angeles, aka Bridget at Loca por Los Angeles. I just want to say hi to everyone, and I'm so excited to be part of the Xicana Boxing team. If you were following coverage on Xicana Boxing Instagram or on TikTok, I definitely took over the TikTok, and we're coming from like the fans' perspective. It was super exciting to see either all the Guatemalan fans in a little restaurant get hyped up supporting Lester Martinez, or getting that classic video of Canelo dancing like Van Damme. I just know that being amongst all of the fans, I think that's a good perspective that I bring to the team. Focusing on the who, the what, the why, what do you know, what's excited about. And I really enjoyed that atmosphere out at the Canelo Crawford fight.
Yeah, we do have a little bit of updates because at the end of the day, this is all about yapping and then wanting you guys to let us know what you guys think. And because we are going to try to do this at least once a month, we do want to kind of get a lot of your thoughts so that we can feature them and maybe talk about them, bring them up right on like our own like discussions. And then also maybe once, if you're at the fight, when we're at the fights, we can, maybe do a tailgate or do something fun, right? So we are definitely trying to build community here. And I, like I said, it wasn't often that I'd be on here, and it was a lot of times because I didn't want to just be yapping by myself. So now we got Bridget and we're going to yap together. So we do have some updates with Canelo that are kind of like making a little noise after, his loss against Crawford. And it's that he got elbow surgery or something like that, or is going to get elbow surgery, or already got, because there is two different sources saying different things. But point is that there's talk about surgery, and a lot of people are thinking that this might be because of the rematch. They're trying to have a rematch, right? Or he's trying to say that he wasn't at his best. So that might be an excuse as to why maybe Crawford beat him, right? And other people are saying that like that's some sore loser shit that sore losers always say, hey, I'm injured, or weeks later, oh, by the way, it's, I was injured. And that's what might be true, because as someone who's like been at the gym and things, like, I know that fighters get injured, and a lot of times they might be like, well, fuck, I'm going to just go into this fight like this. I don't know. What are your thoughts on Canelo and him, coming out with this injury?
Yeah. I have a feeling that we're in like a media age where even like, the hardcore like sleuths, like internet sleuths are going to be like, let's see the receipts from the surgery. Let's see the you know what I mean? Let's see the hospital docs. Like, for me, like, I could see how it is. It could be like an excuse or a cop out, but honestly, for as much as Canelo was, definitely the favorite to win, I wouldn't think that, like it would be a big miss that possibly he had gone into it. Where there was suspicion of Crawford being injured previously, when we knew that wasn't the case. Now with this, I wouldn't think it would be like a bit mythological thing for Canelo's team to say he's getting elbow surgery and that's why X. But, definitely wish him well. They're predicting, mid 2026 for him to return. We'll see if that's possible. We'll see how he recovers if he really did get the surgery.
Do you feel like this kind of does call for a rematch, or it is to incite maybe more interest in a rematch? Or do you feel like Turkey has other plans for Canelo and Crawford?
There is so much, favoritism and speculation of a Canelo Crawford too. And I think that with Turkey's hands in so many camps right now, I think that they did such a big spectacle in a good way, not a negative connotation, but at Allegiant, Netflix. And now I think that that's as big as they could have gone. A rematch would definitely make that money and get that fan base back out. But would they put it on Netflix again? I'm not sure. I wouldn't put it past Turkey to be able to say, oh, look how much we generated. 750,000 fans, right? Am I wrong? Am I adding an extra zero?
Yeah. You're definitely in the ballpark.
It's just so, it would definitely attract everyone, and probably more, that they saw that it was accessible on Netflix, and Canelo Crawford. It was hugely unpredictable. I wouldn't put it past Turkey to make that decision.
I think what I think would make most sense to Canelo, and it depends, right? Because it's Canelo, and I feel like even now, I think he's already at the top of some of the number one as the rank contender, right? For these organizations. And it's like, okay, what is he going to do? Is he actually going to get in the mix with like these other young contenders also trying to get a belt? Or is he, which is most likely what would happen, just going to come back and straight into a title shot, depending on if Crawford drops them and goes back to goes either to 160, because Crawford has the possibility and a chance to do like the craziest fucking thing and go to 160 and beat everybody else there and then become like 3 division undisputed.
Like for him to already get to that 168, I don't know that happening again. So you know what I mean? Or is he
4? Oh my God, sorry, 4. Like that's what I mean. Oh my God, yeah, like that would have 140, 147, 168, and then at 160 he definitely could. Like he could. I wouldn't put it past him. I don't care if he's 40. Happy birthday, by the way.
Right? Like 37, por favor. 37, okay?
You're right, I'm bad. You're right. That's what I mean. Like he has he can't do that if he doesn't want to entertain, Canelo. But a lot of people are like, well, he didn't want to fight Boots, so I don't think he want to go to 160 and challenge himself. Maybe now it would be for Crawford more secure to get, I'll box Canelo again and get that even more money, right? More sponsors, more eyes on him right now, more people, especially now on his side. He would be the A side now. Now he's gonna experience what that's like. Right. And I guess to go on a little tangent on that and go a little bit back to fight week, let's talk about it, because I felt really weird because usually with Canelo in Matchroom, Canelo with BBC, he's always addressed the media, whether it's like smaller YouTubers like ourselves, right? Or like fucking Televisa and Fox or whatever. He's always talking to us normally. He doesn't act any differently with us. And in this TKO partnership with, well, I don't want to just say TKO with Turkey or I don't think it was the Netflix people, because the Netflix media is so nice. Like they are so nice, right? But I don't know what it is, if it was him or what, that from what I've heard, it's him, right? That he didn't want to be around the media. He didn't want to do things, and he didn't want to, make his media responsibilities. And to an extent, I get that about being the A side, right? Maybe he's already tired as hell of like talking to everybody and answering the same freaking questions, because fight week do be like that, right? But to me, I can't put it past him to him to have been like, I'm gonna show Crawford that, like, yeah, he's making millions, but I'm making triple. And yeah, he's gonna be like this, the best, like the biggest, fight week or fight event that he's been in. But I'm gonna show him that, I'm up here. And I don't have to do it because I don't want to. Like, you're on my time. Or you go do that while I talk to the big only, like. And to me, I'm like, after hearing also that he banned some Mexican journalists, right? And then some of the pro box people, boxing scene, right? Like, I think something like that too, because I understand Paulie is like annoying as hell, because I get it. Like he is excessive, but like at the end of the day, that's their opinion. And like for him to just be like, no ban, like, they're not allowed. To me, that's still censorship. And to me, a lot of that fight week with Crawford and Canelo, not necessarily Crawford, but with, UFC press, I guess, it felt very much like strategic censorship, right? Like it's not, they're not completely censoring like smaller media or not giving them access, but it's very limited, and it's stuff that they're also getting. We don't have any exclusivity, which like, again, and with any other platforms, Canelo would go up to all of us in a row and talk to us, right? And not really say anything. And here we barely got any access to the YouTube guys. And that was about as much access as we got. And, it's a little strange to see that Canelo, seeing him, in these spaces, these other promotions, how he was, and more, he was always on some cocky shit, but at least more accessible. And on this one, he was kind of just like, nah. Right, and it still made the fans still on Thursday they were happy. You were there, right, at the press conference. What did you think of being in the middle of it? Because I just want to point this out too because it's not uncommon, and I don't want to take anything away from Canelo. Like that motherfucker. Like I wrote about him. We're gonna miss him when he's gone because I think the last time they said that they had a weigh-in or a press conference had been that sold out or that at sold out capacity was McGregor versus Mayweather. Because it's usually outside, so maybe we can measure it that the Toshiba Plaza is always fucking packed. And that's if one thing I'm gonna say, TKO and Netflix and all of them did better than PBC and Metro and them is that they do the stuff inside. Because PBC and them will have us like in the sun at like 1 p.m. in Vegas, and si tuvieran los piojos ahí se nos murieran todos, se nos quemaran. Because like literally we're just right? So, I've yapped enough. That's the one thing I do give them, but it was very inaccessible. And let me know what you thought of the energy though, because that part was insane.
So regardless, like I know that a lot of the fans who were at the public press conference had no idea what was going on behind the scenes unless they're like these boxing nerds where they were like, what's going on with the media, And honestly, at the public press conference is exactly where Dana White was taken to task, but that's another story. The ones that were just so gung-ho and so supportive of Canelo no matter what, they didn't know what was going on behind the scenes. Like, that's still their dude. That's still their hero. He's been at 168. Canelo, Viva Mexico, cabrones, his seltzers in hand, hyping up the fact that this was at such a big scale. It was really cool to see the public access it so closely because you first come, first serve. The people who got there first, besides, the pit where the media credentialed people were, the fans got a really good look because if they got there first, they were able to see all the walkouts. They were able to, cheer on. I mean, let me tell you, like there was a couple of times where the people behind me who were Mexican Canelo fans were yelling just like the craziest stuff and immediately get a reaction from Canelo because they would yell it at exactly the right moments. And Canelo even smirked a few times at the people right behind me. I was like, wow. This is like a community thing. Like this is like their champ, right? No matter what. And there was a lot of boos for Crawford every time he opened his mouth. But then I feel like it was a little bit appeased because people were like, we actually want to hear what they have to say to each other. And everything that Dana says and everything that Corny Colorman said. But that's another my opinion. It was vibrant. It was so like you could feel the energy. You could feel que era bien comunidad. I mean, granted, it was also the Independencia weekend, and it was just a different vibe that everybody was on. Like Mexican flags everywhere, getting hyped about the Vargas brothers coming into the crowd and taking photos with everybody. It just all went hand in hand. It was so right, and it just felt really cool to be amongst all of that.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. Like, I think, like, this was frustrating. That's why I think it's so frustrating knowing that Canelo took the direction of, like, I'm going to just say it, selling out because he already had enough money and he was getting paid pretty nicely already by both Matchroom and Eddie whenever they had him and then by PBC whenever they had him. He was very generously paid and he's been one of the most general, best paid athletes, just period. Not boxers, not just in boxing. He's made the list of like the best paid athletes in the world, right? So it's like he chose to basically fight his next 3 fights are going to be in Riyadh or Riyadh adjacent, or maybe the UK. This is why I feel like it might be Eubank, right? This fight that should have happened at 160 with Chris Eubank is now going to happen at 168. Like when Eubank, if he, I think he's fighting Connor again, that guy with the egg. He got positive for like some banned substance. He blamed eggs. So that's his lore. So they're fighting, right? And you know what's crazy to me? And that's what I want to ask Coach Red, and we should bring him in here. And if you, to people watching, expect, interviews and stuff from time to time as well. It's not just going to be us yapping. But, they used to also train Eubank for a bit. Crawford's people. Like, that's why fucking Bowman got arrested in the UK because he had like a firearm or something in his bags, or he got caught with a firearm somewhere over there in the UK, and then he couldn't come back for a bit. Like Bomac was in some shit, and that's because he was training Chris Eubank. So I'm like, wait, are you telling me that if Canelo fights Chris Eubank, he's gonna go against Bomac all over again? And imagine if for some reason, like this random's able to pull it off, it'll be like some crazy shit. But I think that would make the most sense for Canelo because he's never done the UK, and like he's did the whole Euro bum, tour, which I don't think it's Euro bum, but whatever. Like he did all that here in the US. It's like maybe now he'll do another one over there, but it's like what does that do? Like Chris Eubank, what does that do? Nothing. We talked about the possibility of the Hamza Shiraz because that's the whole point. That's why Turkey made it a draw with when it was Bronco who beat him, right? Our Dominican 160 champ. He went to Riyadh, took the fight, and like outboxed Hamza Shiraz, the longer, lengthier Hamza Shiraz. And the best he got out was just a draw so that he can keep his belt. At least they didn't take it. But see, it's like they did that because they knew that there was a possibility. That's why they set up the Berlanga fight, and Bobby Berlanga got like that so that they could be like, oh, hey, Canelo didn't do this. But Hamza Shiraz did. And I love Hamza, right? Like, I think he's great. And he's such a wholesome boxer también. Like, but to me, it's like all of this stuff that Canelo's doing now, where it's going to be either in Riyadh or the UK, we're not going to have any of that. We're not going to have any of the community. We're not going to have any of the Theos yelling crazy shit because they're yelling some crazy stuff, right? Like, and you only get that with the Theos. And the Theos, like, that's it,
And that's the thing, like, is it the age of Canelo elitism? Because even watching like the pre-fight coverage and the little doc, like, it's such a contrast between someone like Crawford and someone like Canelo. The whole cliche is like, oh, yes, se le subió. But I mean, I don't know how loud that can be if you're chasing the bag, and now you're just maybe you're in a different etapa, you know what I mean? Like but it's that for it to be like, oh, amo mi pueblo, the response when, Stephen was taking him to task about the whole, Tesla stuff. I love my Mexican people. Okay, well, how accessible is this going to be for your Mexican people from now on when we already saw a little foreshadowing of that when the press was not allowed to come into, the first weigh-in, and it's just, it's very awkward.
Mm-hmm. It's like we got invited and uninvited to so many things. And that's why I want to be like, maybe it's not even the press, just like maybe they're like, you know what, he at the end of the day, I don't know how that goes. Other people have told me that's just how UFC does things. And I'm just like, then what's the point of us getting here early for fight week if we can't get exclusive content? Like that, in my head, I'm like, I would have just gone here for fucking the weigh-ins and then, or the press, right? And that's about it. So to me, it was really strange, but that's what I find, really weird about the whole Canelo thing. Like, and I understand that he did fight everyone, and he has, como él dice, right? Él puede pelear con quien le dé su chingada gana, and it's true. But then it's like, damn, like, then why wouldn't you? Like, yes, he did already have, his like homecoming with Ryder, who he went 12th with, and it was like very underwhelming, right? Homecoming in Guadalajara, and he after that also had a knee surgery, right? And I knew that, like, I always knew that his knees are like, they're prone to maybe get busted. Like, I always thought that maybe Canelo would go out like Martinez, where his knees would just give out. But he got knee surgery, right? And then that was after that whole thing. And I'm just like, like now it's almost like it's like a thing where he could have gone to El Azteca, like fucking Chavez. Chavez Sr. llenó el pinche Estadio Azteca, right? For his people. You know how fucking historic that would have been for Canelo to make that accessible? Especially, I know he doesn't owe it to anybody, and I know he said it in this clip, I think con like, I think it was with one of the Azteca people, like the Azteca, where he was like, stop calling me mamon. Like, I'm not, like, porque soy mamon? And I get it, but at the same time, it's like, well, this would be a perfect opportunity for you to be like, hey, this is a free event, or an event who's like, a certain section is going to be only for Mexicans, where like only Mexicans can buy at the Mexican price, right? Like people from the US can't buy these. If they want to come, they have to buy like closer seats because they're going to pay for the economy here, and they're going to help us generate some money. right? Or just anything like that. Instead, it's like, oh, I'm going to Riyadh, where it's like, okay, I've seen his fans, I've seen some pictures of his and videos of his fans that go over there, but like the Theos can't even drink. If they were to take a trip, you think the Theos are gonna be okay with not being able to drink in Riyadh? Like, come on now.
Which is insane because now I'm like, the more you speak, I'm like, is VMC the most accessible part that we're gonna have of him now? Just that his branding is everywhere, and that your tios can go pick up, that 4-pack of
But also,
Jamaica
let's
or
be honest, the
Tamarin.
Theos don't like that shit. The Theos like cerveza. Well, the Theos,
Fact.
that
So
shit is
ni eso.
gay.
Ya ni eso. Just the tagline, Viva Mexico Cabrón. It's just the acronym. Okay. Well, yeah. What about the people who can't fly? What about, what I mean? They're going to be watching it and then they have to pay how much to be able to access it. You know what I mean? It's a little detached.
I will say this though, like I hope we do grow even more, speaking it into existence, because I wouldn't mind going to just cover a fight in the UK just because I've never been to the UK and I always wanted to go to the O2 Arena because those UK fans are insane. Like they will be drinking, they will be there since like the opening card and they'll be drinking and they'll be like, I hate Sweet Caroline. I fucking hate it. But I feel like if I experience it in the arena with all the people, then I'll be like, okay, this is when it's acceptable to like see, like I'll like it maybe. But I'm just like, I feel like that's gonna be the Canelo tour. If it's gonna be like Chris Eubank, Hamza, or maybe Terrence again, but I just feel like what is he going to do against Terrace, Bridget? Do you feel like watching this performance, do you feel like he can adjust and beat him? And do you believe him when he says that, he might be interested in a rematch?
I believe him when he says he might be interested in a rematch. For what we saw that was so left field. I mean, talk about the Theos. No Mexican, Hispano, happy Hispanic Heritage Month, but whatever, even thought that Crawford that Crawford had a chance. It was like mucho peso, basta despacio. Canelo's been there, done that, etc. I don't see a world where he can, when Oscar's already saying you got to fire Reynoso. That's a whole nother thing. I don't see a thing where he would adapt. What is it? 2 years, a year and a half from now, whenever they would do the, supposed if there was a second. I just don't see a world where he would adapt. And Crawford is just, he was too smooth with it. I just don't see it. I don't.
I don't believe him because he said the same shit about Bivol after he got the same thing with Bivol. I actually feel like he did better against Bivol than against with Crawford, right? But like I think he knows, and the only difference is I feel like with Bivol, I feel like in a way he did believe that he won more rounds than they gave him, which I think they were very generous, like always in the scorecards with him. But like I feel like I think he said something like I beat him 8-4. In his head he thought right that, and I'm just like, okay, but he was being cocky, right, in his loss. Not cocky, but being like, yeah, no, I don't feel like I lost. And with Crawford, he was like, nope, yeah, he beat me. I wasn't even able to land any punch that would have like maybe started to change the trajectory or maybe even put a dent in Crawford's game plan where it would have shifted and even a little bit. There was nothing, no adjustments. And that's why, like you mentioned, Oscar is able to make these criticisms a little bit more valid, even though he's like outrageous in the way that he says them. Like it's valid in a way that this isn't new. Like Canelo, people been telling him to change trainers, right? And with Cotto, when he beat Cotto, which is one of my favorite victories, he did something like, that he loves Eddie and Chepo because él desde no saber tirar un jab, right? Like le enseñaron todo. And I get that, but that's why when I ask, like when I ask Coach Manny about that all switching trainers and how a lot of people are like, oh, it must be drama if they if a fighter switches trainer. And he's like, no, right? Like fighters should go and check out, learn from other gyms and see what they can learn from different trainers and things like that. So Canelo, I don't think he's ever had that. And maybe right now is the best time. Again, he has nothing to prove. And if he's not going to be fighting these young guys like Pacheco or like, Billy or Lester, or the winner of those two,
Mm-hmm.
Like, if he's not going to be fighting the fights that realistically a top contender at 168 should be fighting amongst, then fuck it, go on your Chris Eubanks and your whatever the fucks, and change the trainer. A ver qué sale, you know, like, or what,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe but again, this goes back to like a lot of things that like I talked about with like my boyfriend, where it's like at the same time we're asking so much of these boxers who are like getting punched for a living and giving up time with their families and camps. And for what? For entertainment? No es porque para que nos guste más a nosotros. Like, we're
Right.
asking Canelo to, like, no, fight Benavides, motherfucker. Oh no, come on, fight the younger guys. Even though he like literally in his prime. Like, I was talking to my boyfriend about him, like, that Lara fight was so unnecessary and he took it. That Trout fight was so good, right? And like, I know people again criticize his resume because they were old. I think that they were still valid victories. Especially, I love the Cotto victory. Like, I love it so much. I think that was like a really good. I think proved that Canelo was going in his, you know, like he was going to become what he is now. Like that. I'm like, oh no, he's got it right. And I think that that's why it hurts to see him like go away, and that's why it should be a little. We do still ask challenges of him, but then we're like, oh wait, no, but he doesn't owe us anything. What is your take
Yeah.
on that? He
Yeah.
doesn't owe us anything. Shit.
Yeah. And I think now, it's like the more that we yap, the more perspective I get, because me imagino, okay, like say progress, you know, as an immigrant in the United States, right? Isn't this what we want? Don't we want him to be able to, you know, flex already how far he's gone, and then fuck it, go to the UK, get those, you know, W's or whatever the outcome is. Isn't that what we want?
World
This is
tour. World
like
tour. Go to the Tokyo Dome.
this is the goal, right? So it's like either we don't like him because he's detaching from the culture, he's kind of tone deaf, maybe he's, you know, like I said, giving elitist, or esta fue la meta the whole time. It's like, we want you to be able to progress as much as you can, you know, yeah, like you said, world tour, you know, do his thing. And it's kind of a double-edged sword, la verdad.
Well, not everything is black and white, and this is like proof of it, right? Because it is true. Like, what I think I wrote in one of my zines too about him is that, like, damn, do I feel Mexican as fuck when I'm at a Canelo fight? Like, I'm usually like, damn, like, fuck blind patriotism, but then when I'm at Canelo, I'm like, Mexicanos, I grito, and I'll be like, hell yeah, and I'll just be singing the national anthem.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like so happy that I'm Mexican. Like, that in this world, like, I'm Mexican. Like, Canelo makes me feel so like patriotic, right? And that's like, I think that's like the fact of the tios, right? Like, because at the end of the day, oh my God, I tell people this all the time with Canelo, especially when he wants to avoid any like real questions. All he says is "Viva Mexico," and everybody goes fucking crazy. It reminds me of that episode with like Lois and like Family Guy when she's like mayor or something, and she's like 9/11 was bad, and then like everybody's like, oh, they're like 9/11, and I'm like, that's literally Canelo with like Viva Mexico.
That's facts. It's just a sense of pride, like you said. It's like non-toxic patriotism, because you're like, déjame tomar una chela and, like, you know, say these outlandish things out to the crowd, and you know, that little whistle. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, he's so
it does.
good.
It does.
And I love it though, because like the primero, right? Like, I didn't start doing boxing media till like 2019, 2020. But I would watch the press conference. Y Canelo, you know, he would say things and he would smile, maybe not, pero era bien más calladito, right? And then once he learned English, he became a menace, right? And I think we should do a video on just like Canelo and culture, right? And like just he's just so funny. Like, we need to go into that, how he became just a freaking menace right after learning English. But it's one of those things, right, where it's like we want him to succeed and we want him to make money, and because he does, you know, give, you know, he does give back to his community, but at the same time it's like you're doing too much, and at this point it's not like you mentioned, it's not accessible to the same people who you claim to want to, you know, at least have access to your fights. Porque según también por eso se fue a the zone. Because there's no pay-per-view and his people can watch. What happened to that? It's like, that's why, por eso la gente, I feel like the people who already have like this, like the tíos, because there's the tíos that love him, right? The ones that show up and tell Crawford, quiere llorar. And there's the tíos who hate him. Where like, ese Canelo no pelea con nadie, pelea con puro bulto, right? And you usually see those on Facebook. Like, I have not seen anything positive about Canelo on Facebook ever in my life. So I feel like there's those type of tíos, right? And no, I'm not saying he has to change people's minds, but Canelo has had the opportunity to maybe make more of those type of deals. Have nothing else to fucking say, right? And I don't know. I think I want to spend the last couple minutes también just talking about our future plans. This is our first Rucas boxing rant, and I do feel like it was very ranty. And this will be the vibes. Just maybe we'll get a little bit more organized. And like we mentioned, we will be bringing in guests and people, like live interviews and things like that, and maybe like live content as well. But we are trying to go to Keith Thurman versus Fundora. Fundora's, putting his belt on the line for with Keith Thurman. So I'm trying to take Bridget and I guess what do you know about Fundora and Keith Thurman, and are you excited to come back? Si te gustó, then I literally, when I took Bridget, I'm like, I need her to see how crazy this shit is. Because it's not like, because, they'll give you a schedule and be like, a las 5 empieza. Yeah, that doesn't mean anything. Like, run of shows when it comes to boxing don't mean nothing. Like, they'll tell you a time, but just ask Tank Davis. Like, you could be there for 3 hours. And so, like, I wanted you to check it out first and be like, let me see if she's going to like this, like, boxing media shenanigans where it's kind of like into the wild. Like, what did you think?
It's legit into the wild because, when we're talking about the negative, like, pitch, like putting all the independent journalists in a quarter side of it, that's one part. But when you all, like, I saw how you all interacted and just like have each other's back and like, Dom, shout out Dom Boxing. It's just, it's pretty exciting to see and be there in the nitty gritty and in the trenches with everybody, because everybody's going through the same thing. Yeah. You might not all get the same footage because everybody has such a different eye and everybody has such a different voice. And that's why I'm excited to be, again, a part of Xicana Boxing, because this is a different voice. We're talking about topics that, you might not see in, more mainstream, duo partnership platform, etc. And that's what's exciting about it too. Like, I knew I was there representing Xicana Boxing as like a Latinx woman, myself, and just feeling like, hey, like, I have a mic in my hand and I'm gonna go talk to these fans, and it's adrenaline.
You're doing amazing, sweetie. No, yeah, that's I'm like, I feel like, you got kind of like this, but it was so much different in actual boxing. So I was like, okay, come to Keith Thurman versus, I keep saying Keith Thurman's name first. It's just that I'm old, okay? I'm not trying to disrespect the champion. It's just that I'm old and I grew up with Keith Thurman as a champion. He was like one of the longest reigning champs. So I was like, it's just Keith Thurman, right? Even though he's been like unavailable for like years. So that's why I feel like I want to bring you to this one too. And I want to do Thursday and Friday so that you can get a press conference that is not going to be on Netflix, right? Like just kind of like a more mellow one. But do you know anything about these two? What do you know?
Well, watching the presses with them, it was definitely like such a different dynamic to watch, like, Thurman being the hype man and the poet up there. Like, he was speaking some lines out there, and then seeing Timber, and then Fundora come out and he's like the tall silent type, right? So that dynamic, even in itself, like, I can see that they both have a lot of respect for each other. The records are different, and I don't think I've ever seen anyone as tall as him ever fight in the history of anything. And I've been watching boxing since I was a little kid, since before I was even born in my mom's belly. But it's like, that is entertaining, and watching the highlights, I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, he's that like Fundora is a fun watch. Like, win or lose, because he does have a loss. I think a loss or two. I don't even know. But this guy, he's fun and he engages, and he's learning to use his jab and his height and reach. better than before, but man, this guy's entertaining. And we do have some Latinos on the undercard, so we're gonna try to get them too. We're gonna expect some interviews. I'm gonna try to get on my email grind and email these people, see if we can get something as well. But if not, on fight week, definitely will be there and we'll be getting interviews, trying to highlight as many of the Latinos as possible, especially the undercard prospects, because a lot of bigger platforms also just focus on the coverage for the bigger guys, right? Like the champs or the people who already have all these people lining up to interview them. So we're gonna also give other people a platform.
Mm-hmm. So exciting. And just speaking of that, like covering all the Leicester fans, like everybody was ready for Canelo Crawford. But when I was at this Salvadoran restaurant just talking to fans, like Cuban fans, Guatemalan fans, Salvadoran fans, you're just like, it's so exciting to like see someone like Lester from Guatemala just like on this event. It was just wild, and that was not lost sight on the fans. It was priceless for them, and I want to see that in the undercards, over there.
Yeah, I think that's what I loved about, I talked about being patriotic with Mexicans and shit. Like, I love it. But that's one thing I told you that I loved about covering a fight in New York. Oh my God, it wasn't just Theos, like the Theos with their usual. It was like all sorts of other banter that had like slander stuff I'd never heard in my life. Like otro tipo de bulla, otro tipo de like carrilla que aventaban.
Oh, yeah.
It was amazing. I was like, oh my God, this is new to my ears. It's a new type of Theo obscenities.
So
like
cool.
It's like a new language. It's a new variation language of like Theo obscenities I learned. Like more Caribbean, right? I was like, oh, I didn't know that one. And I loved it, right? So I'm excited for you to come and be part of that as well. And we only have under 2 minutes, so don't forget to like, subscribe, follow Bridget. Let them know where they can follow you, and I'll put it in like the little thing. But let them know where they can follow you so that they can keep up. And also talk a little bit about your previous work, so because you have done, some articles as well on Tank Davis and just just talk. Let me shut the hell up. Talk a little bit about yourself and where they can follow you and
TikTok and Instagram at Loca por Los Angeles, at LA Latin American on Twitter. We're working on that. We're trying to be, all together. So I studied journalism, and I also have been in freelance marketing for a little bit, but my foundation is storytelling and journalism. And, I've written a lot about domestic violence in boxing. I've written about, Tank Davis. I've written like political, cultural stuff, just like Chavez Jr. being detained, things like that. And Mayweather, I've been very outspoken about Mayweather in my late college years. I just went in for it and just broke it down, the statistics and DV. And I'm not shying away from controversial topics, but I'm definitely excited to still have fun and cover on social for Xicana boxing with my background. So don't be shy. Come talk to me if you see a mic in hand.
Hell yeah. All right. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys on the next one. And stay tuned for more content, especially on the short format. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff. So peace.